Oh boy, not again. Again, as the Mavericks fall this time at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the late fourth quarter. We'll break it all down. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys cover your favorite team, no matter win, lose, or draw. We appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. As the Mavericks unfortunately fall tonight at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 115-114, dropping to 23-21 on the season, despite for the second straight game the Mavericks having two guys score at least 30 points. This time, it was Kyrie Irving and P.J. Washington. P.J. Washington with a season-high 30 points, his first 30-point game of the season. Kyrie Irving having 36 in the game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough as the Minnesota Timberwolves had six guys in double figures, including Jaden McDaniels, who led the Timberwolves with 27 points. We'll break it all down here for you over the course of the next hour. We'll have our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, join us live from the American Airlines Center, and also our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, joining us from the arena as well on what has been a difficult day for the Mavericks, Bobby, after learning that their starting center and Derek Lively is going to be missing at least the next month with the injury that he is dealing with, and a very shorthanded team competed tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves, nearly pulled out a victory, but it was just simply not enough in the end.
Yeah, I mean, they played hard. You know, there are a lot of details and a lot of kind of hustle adjacent things to get upset about from this game. But honestly, man, given everything, given the names of the players that were in the starting lineup, given the options they had off the bench tonight, really hard to be upset with anything that happened. Really, really hard to be upset with how the Mavs played. And, you know, I mean, you said it yourself. For Minnesota to come in here and barely escape with the win, only because probably the worst foul call in the history of basketball was called, as Ant went up for that airball floater, that the only reason he got the whistle is because he airballed it.
Yeah.
And yelled, "Hey, ref!" He's so loud. God, he's so loud with it. And it was getting higher and higher pitch. It starts as like, "Oh," and then it's like, "Ah." But anyway,
Anthony Edwards did that in the middle of a shot attempt. He was like, "Hey, ref!"
Oh, it was awesome.
It's like, come on, dog.
It was
like,
great.
what are we doing here?
But you know, hard to get too upset. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not pulling my hair out like I did after the Hornets game, and there's been a lot of other losses this year where you're like, dude, they really should have won this game. But this game, they almost got it. It would have been sweet if they did, but hey, it's Brandon Williams was your third guard. Like, it's just gonna.
Max
this is how it's
starting tonight.
Yeah. I said it on bsky.app earlier today. I need to.
Was that Blue Sky? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yeah. He said B Sky. Did you
well,
short Blue Sky?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll get muted for saying that word or not. But here's the situation. The Mavs' first and third string centers are out, so their second string power forward is now their backup center. Their top two small forwards are out, so their third string power forward is now their starting small forward. Their top PG is out, so now their top shooting guard is now their starting point guard, and the third string shooting guard is now their starting shooting guard. Otherwise, it's all good. I'm just not getting mad. I'm not getting mad.
I mean, and I feel you, Sarah. She says, I'm upset we can't drop any games that Kyrie plays in, and I definitely understand that, especially you got back-to-back 30-plus point games from Kyrie Irving. In fact, for the second straight game, he had at least 20 points in the second half. You had 31, 15, and 7 from Daniel Gafford on Monday against the Hornets. You got 30 points tonight from P.J. Washington, but yet and still you allow the Minnesota Timberwolves to go, what was 30 of 34 from the free throw line tonight.
They didn't allow them to do that.
Well, you know.
Gobert went 8 of 8. Like, that's incredible.
That's kind of an anomaly in and of itself.
Yeah.
But you did allow 25 fast break points, and you got outscored 25-8 in that department. And look, the frustration is clearly there for Mavericks fans and everyone who supports this team because the injuries that this team continues to sustain, even with the effort that was given tonight, you fall short. It just feels like it's a never-ending cycle again when it comes to how this team is unfortunately not able to get wins. And there's a lot of frustrated Mavericks fans tonight, as they should be, given the fact that I feel like Minnesota, I'm just going to say it, Minnesota is deeply unserious because, to your point, they should have won this game comfortably given the amount of starters and their top 7 guys available. Dante DiVincenzo didn't play. He's dealing with an injury. But they had pretty much.
That's worth like 15 points.
Yeah, well, I guess so. So they would have won by 16 instead of just the 1 point tonight. Yeah. But I thought Minnesota was going to comfortably win this game. But you give the Mavericks a lot of credit. They had a chance to tie this game with 3 seconds left. Kyrie Irving missing a 3-pointer. Unfortunately, with 3 seconds left, that would have tied the game at 114. At one point, the Mavericks had seen the Timberwolves go on what was a 13-5 run to eventually take what was a 12-point lead. They fought back in the fourth quarter to get it within a point, but unfortunately, we're just not able to sustain it down the stretch.
Yeah, and whenever you lose a game by 1, and really it was by 4, Kyrie made that.
Exactly.
Whatever. So we can call it a 1-point loss if you want, but they lost this game by multiple shots. But when a game is that close, it comes down to all the little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I counted at least 4 times when either Conley or Jaden McDaniels just went coast to coast without anybody stopping the ball, and it was either Kyrie or Dinwiddie at the rim in transition, and they didn't really put up a fight, and it was just 4 layups, like 4 finger rolls. The Wolves, you mentioned the 25 fast break points. They were 8 of 12 on shots on the fast break, and they got some threes out of it, but they also got a lot of free throws out of it. There was a play where I forget what happened right before it. I think someone maybe didn't get a foul or maybe it was a turnover or something, and Dinwiddie was kind of late to the party, and he just fouled Randall, and it became an and one,
mm-hmm.
and like on a layup, in transition. And it's like that's the sort of stuff, that 34 free throw attempts, and probably 5 or 6 of those were cheap and ones that you really probably should just keep your hands in your pockets, and things like that happen. I thought really like the Wolves really punished the Mavs situationally in the fourth quarter. Gafford goes to the bench. He can't play 12 straight minutes. He's just not, he's got to get a rest at some point. And whenever he was on the bench, the Mavs went with Maxey at the 5, and they went on a little push with that lineup, and then kind of because they were doubling Ant, but then they kept doubling Ant. And when you double Ant in the middle of the floor and it's not on the drive, it's like almost on the dribble. It's not quite on the touch, but as soon as he kind of starts moving, you're doubling. It's an easy swing to the corner. McDaniels missed 1 3 off that, but then he made it. And then there were some other situations where you're scrambling, and if you're scrambling, because it becomes a 4-on-3, so then everyone's kind of out of position. It's really hard to get rebounds in those situations. And the Wolves had 8 second chance points in the first 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter. So there were a lot of things like that where it's like, well, yeah, bonehead, just do this better and y'all win. But again, the Wolves had a massive health advantage.
Mm-hmm.
There was a massive talent disparity in this game. And it just, again, I can't bring myself to, we didn't learn anything about the team tonight. Spencer Dinwiddie's been bad for a long time. And the Mavs have been banged up for a long time. And so I'm not getting mad about any of this stuff.
Yeah, to your point, the Mavericks had pulled within 1 with what was 5:45 left in the fourth quarter, and you felt like, okay, they were able to go on what was a 13-2 run to pull within 1. But the offensive rebounding, the situational offensive rebounding, because we know Minnesota isn't necessarily a great offensive rebounding team, but they got the key ones when they needed to. They got 3 offensive rebounds. That was part of a quick 5-0 burst for them to go up by 6 once again at what was 106 to 100. And that kind of felt like that was the game from that point on, because with 4.5 minutes left, you're having to now climb back in it again. You were able to do so, but not getting timely defensive rebounds when you had the opportunities to really throughout the course, whether it was the fourth quarter or at any point during the game. Not getting those timely offensive rebounds really cost him, and it did so, particularly in the fourth quarter. Look, when you're going through this stretch, if you're the Mavericks, obviously you got some really nice minutes, I thought, from Kessler Edwards tonight, who I thought had some aggressive attacks to the rim, had some decent defense on Anthony Edwards at times as well, who wasn't necessarily great in this game if you're Minnesota. But that's where you are with this team, like deep cuts with Brandon Williams getting minutes, Kessler Edwards getting minutes. This is where this team is, and you feel disappointed that even on a night where you got at least 30 points for two guys, and you shot 50% from the field. I mean, the Mavericks went 45 and 90 from the field. If you got two guys at least scoring 30, shooting 50% from the field, you feel good about your chances to win this game, but just not enough plays in key moments when they needed to in this game.
Yeah, but it can't just be the two guys, right? I mean, again,
they needed a third guy to give them something.
I keep digging back in the past into my bag of takes, but I said a long time ago, this is almost a month ago now, the Mavs can't win games 125-120. They have to win games 104-99 or 105-100. If Minnesota or any opponent is going to get to like more than 110, it's just not going to happen. The Mavs just don't have the firepower. Kyrie and P.J., they combined for 66 points, which is excellent. Omax, what do you really expect from Omax? But he scored 4 on 7 shots. Got stuck with a couple grenades. I'm not judging the shooting too much for him. Grimes, definitely hope to see more from him. 2 for 7, 3 turnovers. Had 2 turnovers in a row where he just kind of like dribbled it off his foot, lost the handle. And then Dinwiddie off the bench, 4 of 13, 1 of 4. He had 1 assist and 1 turnover. You in a game like this, when the other team kind of has it going a little bit, you have to get scoring from multiple places. And for Dinwiddie, who had 9, Grimes, who had 5, and Omax, who had 4, those 3 guys combined for 18. You can eliminate Omax even and say Grimes and Dinwiddie combined for 14 on 20 shots. That's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So, especially whenever you get outscored on the 3-point line by 9 and from the free throw line by 14, that's 23 points you got to make up somehow. It's asking a lot, dude. It's just asking a lot. And it's kind of the same situation as in Charlotte. Remember, Charlotte made 11 more threes than the Mavs.
They did.
That's 33 points you have to make up. I think the Mavs made more free throws than the Hornets, but still, that's so many points that you're behind. And, without Luka and tonight without Clay, that's just a lot of shooting. That's a lot of volume shooting that you're missing. And so it is going to be incumbent upon, Omax, especially Grimes, especially Dinwiddie, to make some shots. Otherwise, you're going to be, to the Mavs' credit, they were going to the basket all the time. They scored a zillion points in the paint, but you're just not going to get enough easy offense. If everything's going to be a grind, you're not going to get 3 points with one flick of the wrist. You're going to have to earn it all, and it's going to be tough.
And we'll get to P.J. Washington throughout the course of the postgame show as well, because I thought he was aggressive, attacking the rim, getting into the paint. We talk about how much the Mavericks need to touch the paint to make good things happen. Tonight you score 114 points, 66 of which come in the paint. So you were getting to the rim and doing so with regularity, and P.J. Washington was a big part of that. Interesting number here when it comes to, for the Timberwolves real quick, do you know how many guys they played in total tonight?
Who?
The Timberwolves?
9? 8? 8?
And only 7 of them got more than 9 minutes. Rob Dillingham was the 8th man who played tonight. He had 9 minutes of play. The other 7 guys had at least 26 minutes. So we're talking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who played 31 minutes, and Naz Reid, who played nearly 27 minutes, and then Rob Dillingham played nearly 9 minutes. Other than that, it was the 5 starters for the Minnesota Timberwolves that played tonight, and the Mavericks played 9 guys tonight outside of your starters. You had Spencer Dinwiddie, Maxi Kleber, Kessler Edwards, and Brandon Williams, who saw time tonight. So even a healthy Minnesota Timberwolves team kept it really short in terms of their rotation, and most of their guys that played at least 26 minutes. The only one that didn't play that many minutes was Rob Dillingham, as I mentioned, with the near 9 minutes.
Are they really going to go through the rest of the season with the 7-man rotation?
I imagine when Dante DiVincenzo comes back.
He has a grade 3 injury. You never see grade 3 stuff. He's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he's going to be out for a while. So until he comes back, that might be who Minnesota has to run out.
That's tough.
The reason why I bring that up is because of the 8 guys that they had on the floor, 6 of them were in double figures.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of production from a lot of different guys, including who I thought was really good tonight. I thought Mike Conley was excellent for Minnesota.
Well, let's go position by position real quick. The starting lineup, who's better between Jaden McDaniels and Omax? Who's better between Julius Randle and PJ? Who's better between Gobert and Gafford?
And Randle was only 4 of 13 tonight.
Yeah, who's better between Ant and Quentin Grimes? Now Kyrie is obviously better than Mike Conley, but the Mavs had one advantage in the starting 5. It's again, talent disparities off the charts. The fact that this is a 1-point game is truly, again, KG, you nailed it. It's I don't know. Granted, it's one game in January on the road, but if the Wolves had to play a 7-man rotation in this game to eke out a win against the Mavs that they were missing 7 guys.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like, holy cow. I mean, it's really hard to comprehend.
Mavericks fall 115-114 at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll break it all down coming up here over the course of the next 45 minutes as we'll welcome in our National NBA insider Marc Stein and our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato live from the AAC. Coming up next, though, here on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show, what the turning point was of this game, including what was a dramatic fourth quarter that almost, Kyrie, came to an end for the Mavericks with a potential win. We'll discuss it coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show.
But first, it's time to talk about the best fantasy league platform out there, Sleeper. You can put your ball knowledge to the test like I do every night, and I failed once again tonight. I saw Oscar in the chat say thanks for the pick, Bobby. My bad, dude. I tried, but the Mavs just did too good of a job against Julius Randle. What can I say? You can put your ball knowledge to the test every night by picking whether your favorite or least favorite Julius Randle players will have more or less than their projected stats every single game. With Sleeper, the more you pick, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper also keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries, and unfortunately, we're very used to injury alerts around here, aren't we? You can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. Doesn't need to be your first. Sleeper is currently operational in over 25 states, including Texas, so check it out today.
We talked to you about Shady Rays real quick. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all of your outdoor adventures. They probably have a style or a color in your favorite team, if that's the Mavericks, Cowboys, Stars, or whoever that may be. I have a pair of Shady Rays. I use them. You know, I got 4 eyes, so I need to use my Shady Rays when I go out to be able to shield myself from the sun or hideous basketball at times when I'm watching. But at the same time, it does help.
Might need them tomorrow night.
That's right. They're taking on the Thunder. But exclusively for our listeners here on DLLS Mavs, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Again, that's 35% off with code DLLS. Try yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people today. Let's go out live to the American Airlines Center and welcome in our Mavericks beat writer. You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. He is, of course, Tim Cato. After the Mavericks fall 115-114 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, now 23-21 on the season after 44 games. Kyrie Irving had a chance to tie the game with 3 seconds left, missed that three-pointer. The free throw contest was won by the Timberwolves, Tim, and unfortunately the Mavericks fall in what was a competitive game in a lot of ways, given the circumstances that they were dealing with, but come up short once again.
Yeah, so Jason Kidd and P.J. Washington have both talked to media. A lot of what they said was about what you would expect. Next man up. A lot of next man up. A lot of reporters in there, and I know we just talked to Jonah from WFFA. It did feel like, you know, there was some TV media in there that was trying to get a sense of the season and kept asking questions like, do you look at the bench and see how many people are in street clothes? And I don't blame them for asking that. I don't blame the players for saying that everybody kind of goes through this, that this is a moment that every team has to some extent. Now, does every team go into games with 7 players missing? I don't know about that, but every team does go through this. But Jason Kidd highlighted in the fourth quarter that they couldn't get rebounds. Bobby, I saw you tweeting about how they're sending doubles at Anthony Edwards, and that's a byproduct.
You saw DLLS Mavs tweeting about it. All right, let's not attribute that to any one person, Tim.
Okay, so DLLS, run by Bobby, was tweeting about doubling Anthony Edwards, and so after Jason Kidd brought that up, I thought that was something I noted as well and wanted to ask him about. And so Jason Kidd said they basically they felt like they wanted somebody else to score in that fourth quarter. He said as to what needs to happen to get rebounds, it's just that the smalls, as Jason Kidd loves to refer to, the guards, they've got to fight, they've got to use their fouls, and because if you foul someone off the ball, sure, that's not the ideal thing to happen, but it's better than giving up an offensive rebound that's immediately put back in. Dallas was playing okay defense for some of the fourth quarter. At least don't give them easy buckets, directly at the rim by conceding offensive rebounds that are just instantly going to be putbacks. P.J. Washington, he also brought up unprompted the offensive rebounding, which makes me think that this was, to some extent, a message of Jason Kidd in the locker room. It's interesting. PJ is in there so quickly. I need to ask this again. There have been times where, everybody assumes that the coach comes into the locker room and has some sort of post-game message. That's not always the case. But I think that players do throughout the fourth quarter, especially throughout as you're giving up runs, as timeouts will be taken. A lot of the messaging that comes through in the post-game locker room, it really comes from what the coach is saying down the stretch. It's not necessarily some like rah-rah speech that's given in the, it's given, right as the buzzer sounded, as everybody assembles in the locker room. Sometimes, but there's not necessarily as formal of a speech as you're going to get. So given that, I think it's interesting that Jason Kidd and P.J. Washington both brought up the offensive rebounds, unprompted on their own as something that was an issue in the fourth quarter. For P.J. Washington, his words were, just that you've got to want it more. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this on the show. Sometimes the offensive rebounding, really, not sometimes, but the rebounding is about wanting. It is about effort. It is, as much as anything on the basketball court, rebounds are about effort. It's about how much you try. And it's hard. When you have really a, what are we calling it? An 8-man rotation, almost a 7-man rotation with a couple guys coming in to spot minutes just because you have to play somebody. That is a hard thing to do. Quentin Grimes was back from back spasms and went out there and played 36 minutes. P.J. Washington has been playing 35 minutes minimum, over the past month. He has been. That's hard. That is not hard. And it's even harder when you have to gear up mentally for a game that you might not win because you don't have Luka out there, because you don't have Derek Lively out there. The mental aspect of that, it's easy to gear up for a playoff series where the stakes are as big as you understand the stakes. When you're going into games understanding that mentally this might not be a win, that mentally every game is just based off the track record of the past 3 weeks, you are losing more games than you're winning. That's a hard thing to do, but that's what you have to do in the fourth quarter. And especially it's something you have to do in the fourth quarter when you choose a defensive strategy that is going to inherently put you into rotations and put you into scrambles. So it's tough. It's what the players and Jason Kidd kind of identified as the biggest issue in the fourth quarter. It still came down to a Kyrie look that maybe could have gone down. Jason Kidd said he liked the shot. He rarely says he doesn't like a shot late in games, but that's what it came down to. It was as close as that, and ultimately Dallas could not pull it out. Kyrie couldn't get that shot to fall, and it's another unfortunate loss for Dallas.
I understand the psychological aspect of being like, man, these odds are long. It's gonna be tough. And I'm not saying I'm not challenging you, Tim, but like I want to go out on my sword, and how many times? What's the thumbnail text on this one, Tanner? Not again. Not again. How many times for the last 3 weeks have we been saying, man, the Mavs lost by 4, or they lost by 1, or they lost by 2? Ah, man, if Kyrie would have made that 3, maybe they would have won. Like, do the players know the score of the final scores of these games that they are playing in? And do they not see like, oh, if we would have got one more rebound, maybe we wouldn't have lost? Like I understand them saying like, yeah, we got to want it more. We got to be better. But then like, just do it, man. Like, doesn't losing suck? Like, just go do it. Just go box out. How many times? Like, we sit up here and watch games. I see it in not 4K. It's definitely not 4K.
Definitely not 4K.
I see it like in 480p or 720p.
At least 720.
Guys just staring, just looking. Shot goes. There was a play tonight. Grimes is going for a contest. He ends up so far out of the frame that the Wolves make like
picking
3 passes on a possession before, and because we see it live, and KG missed part of the play. He was like looking down or writing notes or something, and then he looks up and he's like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I'm like, "We have two TVs set up where we watch the game, and one is like 10 seconds behind." And I said, "Look over here. wait for Grimes. And then just out of effing nowhere comes Quentin Grimes. I'm like, bro, just do it then. You have to do it, Tim. Tim, you have to do it.
Not you specifically, but
no, Tim, you get out there.
He's got to do it. Got it. Okay, got it.
Like, what's going on?
Do you think that I'm being recruited to play in these games?
Maybe.
Hell, you might have to be the way that these bodies are dropping for this team at this rate.
Won't be long. It's a back-to-back tomorrow, dude.
Oh, my gosh. It's a back-to-back tomorrow.
Against a team that has a lot of guards that like to rebound.
Yeah. A lot of guards who've been praised for their rebounding at points of the season. And fortunately, you gotta go do it. It's not fun. It's not easy. One thing, and I know we've said this before, I don't think this team is going to win games unless they hit like 14 threes. And some of that is that you just don't create as good looks when Luka's not out there. Some of that is that Dallas only, how many did they end up getting up? 29. And quite frankly, it would have been 28 had the last possession been had it not been a 3-point game that they would have had to force it up there. I do kind of think, and the other thing about making threes is that when you are making them, I think it has a galvanizing effect on the whole team. I kind of think the team has to, and again, like they didn't have a lot of 3-point shooters out there tonight. I don't know who I want taking more threes. Kessler Edwards, Brandon Williams, but
Maxey.
If this team is going to be, and it's a two-edged sword because Jason Kidd, it is so clear. He has talked about, he's praised Omax for passing up threes and driving because the team is better when they touch the paint and then kick out and get redrives and then end up with a good quality shot. Yeah, especially a good quality 3-point shot that comes in rhythm. So it's a very delicate balance of this. I think this team needs to get up more threes, but they can't stop driving. So a lot of times it just has to. I do wonder if as important as it is for PJ and Spencer, especially to be guys who are constantly putting pressure on the rim, I wonder if they should be looking a little bit more to kick it out and try to get threes that way. PJ to an extent. Spencer Dinwiddie, I think most of the time should be driving to try to find the open three, just because, quite frankly, he's not as good of a finisher. But at the same time, it's important to get layups. You have to offer some threat at the end of these drives. So this is not a fully fleshed out thought, but I do think this team is not ever going to win a game under these conditions, making 8 threes. And probably isn't going to win a game when they only attempt 29. So I don't know if you guys...
It has to happen faster, like earlier in the shot clock.
Yeah, you got to get into the offense a little bit quicker. I mean, my man pounded the ball for 14, 15 seconds and then expected something to happen, in the last 8 seconds of the shot clock. I mean, come on, man. It's just not – there's nothing efficient about it. There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about it.
That isn't just a Dinwiddie thing, though, to be fair.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not just saying him specific. I'm just saying just period. Like, you got to get into the office a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
Especially if you know you got to redrive a lot to find open shots. You gotta get moving when you cross the half court line.
Tim, it's also like I totally agree the Mavs are better whenever the ball touches the paint and they can go outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, out. But it's also like right now with the players they have, it's like the Maxies and Kessler Edwardses and Omaxes and Brandon Williamses. When those guys, basically turn down an open three or even pump fake and then drive, like they're not generating the kind of reaction from the defense that more dangerous players would. And so sometimes that's why I really liked what Maxey did tonight. Like he took a couple mid-rangers and knocked them down. Like he was able to do some stuff. You have to have that in your bag. Otherwise, if you can't score from 6 to 8 feet, Omax is driving into kind of nothingness, and Kessler Edwards like passing up an open three to drive, and there's no advantage anywhere. So it's like it's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I think the play that exemplifies my point, I guess, is Quentin Grimes has not had a good past week, and there's a moment where the ball was swinging around the perimeter, and he made another swing, and I get it. That is especially when the ball is humming around the perimeter, you are incentivized to if the next guy in the chain is open, kind of open, you keep swinging it. But the guy who was technically open, was Maxey in the corner, and there was a guy closing out on him, and that possession just completely broke. It ended up with Quentin having to take a tougher three, But that's the moment where in that chain, he should have recognized, don't make the swing to Maxey with the guy closing on him. You take that shot. You take that shot right there. It's important to take the good threes when you can get them. That's still a good, that three was a better three than the one they ended up getting out of the possession, even if it was a Grimes three. But the Grimes three that they got was him, curling back around a Maxey handoff and having to just pull, rather than him catching in rhythm and just recognizing the situation and the circumstance. And that, it's not like he was swinging to Clay in the corner. He was that. I think that's a shot that he should take right there. It's tough though. There's not a lot of great answers. The offense is going to be choppy, and you don't have a lot of threatening players on the court. So, it doesn't. You got two driving buckets from Kessler Edwards, or one driving bucket from Kessler Edwards. That's not going to change how Minnesota's playing him. It's not going to change anything. They're gonna stay in the. They're going to guard him exactly the way they're guarding him before. So it's tough. Hopefully there are. For Dallas' sake, there's some players coming back. Quite frankly, I don't know if they need to be coming back. I don't know if anybody should rush back for the game tomorrow unless they're totally ready for it. There are games coming up that are much more important for Dallas to compete in and win.
Well, we will find out tomorrow because the Mavericks are on a back-to-back as they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow evening. Tim, as always, we appreciate you reporting live from the American Airlines Center. Get to work, get some rest, and we'll talk to you tomorrow evening, my man. Thank you.
See you guys then.
Bye, Tim.
That's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, reporting live from the American Airlines Center. Coming up next on the other side of the break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, the turning point of this game, plus a little bit later on, we'll have our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, join us to provide us the latest. Oh, he's going to be coming up next. Okay.
All right. They really want to get out of there.
They're trying to get out of there real quick. I respect it. So coming up next, our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. He'll join us live from the AAC. Damn it, we're going to talk about this turning point at some point. You got me? We'll do all on that next coming up here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. But first, you got to go to the East-West Shrine Bowl coming up in just a matter of days. The 100th edition of the East-West Shrine Bowl taking place deep in the heart of Texas on January 30th at AT&T Stadium. You want to be a part of the history of America's oldest college football all-star game right at AT&T Stadium. Since 1925, the game has benefited Shriners Children's and its mission to provide innovative pediatric specialty care to improve and transform the lives of children. See some of the nation's top college football players play in this head-to-head competition ahead of the NFL draft, including Shedeur Sanders of Colorado. The East-West Shrine Bowl has served as the starting point for many noteworthy NFL careers, including 80 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and more than 200 members of the College Football Hall of Fame as well. Tickets start at just $20, boys and girls, and use code DLLS when purchasing 2 or more tickets to receive 50% off. Visit shrinebowl.com to buy your tickets today for the 100th edition of the East-West Shrine Bowl on January 30th at AT&T Stadium.
Started by two College Pal Saturday Neon, goodness, makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. They got almost 50 of the biggest schools around the country, including Texas, A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and more. Unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. They last up to 100,000 hours, and that is more than 11 years. So I hope you don't have too much planned for 2036 because that bad boy is still going to be lit up. They're super easy to install, and they're low voltage, so they don't get hot. They're always safe to the touch. They're the perfect gift. Even though college football season is over, hey, it's about to be March Madness. So they're the perfect gift for that basketball lover in your life. Head over to SaturdayNeon.com and use code DLLS. Again, code DLLS at SaturdayNeon.com to save 10% off your favorite sign.
As we now welcome in our national NBA insider, you can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. He, of course, is Marc Stein, joining us live from the American Airlines Center as the Mavericks fall 115-114 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, now 23-21 on the season. They got to get back on the floor tomorrow night to take on the Western Conference leading Oklahoma City Thunder. Marc Stein, in what was a competitive night for this team, missing a lot of guys. We'll get to Derek Lively and his injury here in just a few moments. But just your overall thoughts on the game and the competitive nature at which the Mavericks play with despite the loss.
I mean, a loss like this obviously hurts even worse because you would have looked at the Mavs injury list before tip-off, thought they had no chance, and they ended up staying in it all the way to the end. And so I can only imagine what is rumbling inside the head of the Corellistrator right now, because this was an opportunity. You know, we know the Wolves all season have had trouble closing games. So the opportunities were there, but I think you would also have to say with the Mavs in their current state, they needed to play a lot closer to perfect than they did. And of course, Kyrie hits the late three to just turn it into a 1-point game and make it even more painful at the end. Safe travels. See ya.
Are you wishing our ops well, Mark?
Well, that was Wolves coach Chris Finch, who I've known for many, many, many years. We go back almost 30 years. So yes,
boo this man.
I am going to wish him safe travels on his way out of the arena. Yes, that is. You got me.
I'm glad Chris is out of the room because you won't say it. He won't say it, but I'll say it. I came away from this game feeling that the Timberwolves were deeply unserious. They had 7 of their main guys playing. Dante DiVincenzo obviously missing due to a toe sprain, but I thought they were clearly coming here and handle business against a very shorthanded team. I don't feel any way about how the Mavericks competed because they competed their tails off. But Minnesota, I thought, played much more down to their quote-unquote competition tonight than what I think they're capable of. That was one of my main takeaways from tonight's game in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, the Mavericks and their injury situation is starting to feel a little dire at this point. We know Derek Lively is going to be out for at least the next month. What more can you tell us when it comes to Derek Lively II and his stress fracture in his ankle?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think you frequently see this from teams where the initial announcement is always, the Mavericks only announce he's going to be reevaluated in a month. Nobody thinks he's coming back in a month. This is clearly a longer-term injury than that, and obviously something deeply concerning because I really think it was a hope more than a belief that it wasn't going to be serious, but obviously they went for more imaging and found I mean, there's no good way to put it when you see the word fracture in there. And obviously, look, we've talked a lot about injuries with Derek Lively this season. I think more than once, more than twice, it was nothing of his own making. I mean, I remember on Christmas Day, we were obviously all focused on what happened to Luka. Mike Conley went barreling into Lively on the sideline, and that left Lively with one of the injuries that has cost him some time this season. But there's been a lot of misfortune on his injury history. But this, we still don't know a great deal about exactly how this happened and how the severity got to this point. So there's still, I think, more to learn about, what happened here that frankly we don't fully know. I mean, this was announced on a game day and these guys made a quick getaway out of here because they're going straight to Oklahoma City. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Luke, you see Luka during the games. He is someone who is clearly itching to play. We know Luka Doncic is coming back next month, but now, you don't know how long it's going to be before we see Derek Lively. And, it naturally begs the question that I'm almost afraid to say out loud because I see you guys on screen. I can't really see your faces on my phone, but I shudder to think what saying these words will do to the Corellistrator's face. But are we going to see this team at full strength again this season? When
oh
is
my
that?
God. Oh my God! Cut away!
That's an easy.
Cut away!
I'll answer for him. I'll speak for you. Can I speak for you?
Yes.
No.
When are we going to see that? Are we going to see that? These are fair questions.
No.
Yeah.
I feel very confident in saying no. I mean, if best case scenario, best case for Derek Lively II, he's back a week, 2 weeks before the end of the regular season. Worst case scenario, my man has smoked the rest of the regular season. Like it's a wrap for him in that ankle for the rest of the regular season. And if that is the case, no, we will not see the projected starting five. We won't see the team at full strength for the rest of the year. Like, I'm not trying to be, well, actually, I am trying to be blunt. Like, this is just where they are right now. It is what it is, and this is what they got to deal with. It's an unfortunate situation with the injuries that they're suffering. A lot of these teams in the league are dealing with this. Some teams have dealt with it better than others, but at the same time, this is the hand that they've been dealt, and they've got to start to find a way, especially when 77 comes back, to somehow get this thing a little more upright, because if it's not, we're talking about some real difficulties here, not just for the rest of the month of January, but prior to the All-Star break as well.
I imagine this is not the first time I've made this observation. Like, the consolation now really is that, okay, the Thunder, they are who they want to be as a team. Houston and Memphis, I think both have to be happy because, you know, they're really doing better than projected. The Grizzlies especially, because they've had another season filled with injuries. Houston has, you know, they've been fantastic. I think the Nuggets, for me, have really rebounded. And they, to me, are the number 2 team in the West right now, no matter what the standings say. They are the foremost threat to Oklahoma City in this conference. But everybody else underneath those 4 teams is going through something. And it's not worked out the way they were they'd hoped coming into the season. And that's something for the Mavericks to cling to, that to this point, we've just gotten past the halfway point and nobody's really run away from them. But yeah, I mean, the Mavericks, it's going to, you know, they still got to get through, you know, it's only January 23rd. They've still got, you know, a week plus just to get to the end of the month. The anticipation is that we will see Luka back in February, but again, precisely when in February has still not been nailed down. And the question again is, where is this team going to be in the West standings by the time they have Luka and Kyrie back as a duo, to at least build around that? But obviously, Gafford's role has just increased significantly, and you know, I just don't see any magic fixes on the trade market to compensate, because not because there aren't, I mean, there are a lot of centers available, but it's just the Mavericks' available pool of trade assets is limited after all the trade business we've seen. And like, they have to ask themselves, do they want to burn something good in the short term for a potential short-term fix? Like, Nico Harrison has already said on the record that he didn't want to do that. That was obviously before this lively news. But, you know, they're going to have to evaluate it and see and choose a course of action, which I think those evaluations are what, you know, they're taking place away from games right now. That's what they're mowing. Tomorrow is literally 2 weeks to go until the trade deadline. So these evaluations now have to be sped up and made more quickly, and they're going to have to decide. But I don't know that I would be rushing out there to, you know, because they are so shy of full strength as we speak. That's not the ideal time to be making those evaluations.
Can you give me something to feel good about, please? Just something, even if it's small. Like, is the weather going to be nice tomorrow or something?
Tomorrow night, they're playing Oklahoma City. They are the only team in the league to have beaten Oklahoma City twice this season.
Is he going to say it?
And we'll all be together tomorrow in studio to analyze that game. That is the good news I can offer you.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the G word. I thought you were about to make a prediction. You thought he was going to
guarantee something, a win tomorrow? You really are on some real hopium and copium tonight, because my gosh.
That was a tape. That was a recording, Tanner.
Guaranteed.
Sounds live to me.
That is Memorex. That is taped. You guys don't even know. That's a commercial from like the 80s when we used to have cassettes.
Long story.
Gotta be old.
Well, we aren't old like you, but we appreciate you hopping on with. No, I'm just joking. Mark, we love you. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you for giving us your time live from the American Airlines Center. Go home, get you some rest. And
I ask you guys 2 questions, actually.
Will they take less than 30 seconds?
Yes. I failed to shut the door. Was the noise awful?
No.
Good. Okay. We'll skip the second question. I will see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye, Mark.
That's our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein, reporting live from the American Airlines Center. I'm glad we can laugh because, my gosh.
Who's we? Just kidding.
You've been laughing quite a bit.
To mask the pain.
Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show. No guests are going to interrupt this turning point. No, I'm just joking. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I have some things, actually. I do have some things.
We're going to let Bobby cook coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show. And we'll do that, next.
But first, it's Die Hard time. Hey, diehards revel in the glory, and what's the opposite of revel? What's like the worst thing?
Grovel in pain.
Yeah, they sink to the Empire Today depths
Oh,
beneath the
there.
flooring.
That's good.
Whenever things go poorly, and things are going poorly right now, but we're still building a community here at DLLS Sports. 5 days a week covering Mavs. We're covering every single game. We're covering Cowboys. We're covering Rangers. We're covering Stars. If you think Kevin Gray was upset about another missed box out, you should see his reaction whenever like Jeff Kavanaugh or Joe or Clarence or Jesse on the Cowboys beat come in and say, I think Schottenheimer's going to be the guy.
Oh, my gosh.
And if you want the most plugged-in coverage of this stuff, the best way to find it is right here on the YouTube channel. So thank you to all of you who have watched, who have liked, commented, subscribed to our channel. We're nearing 14,000 subs already.
Dax even texted Clarence during the Cowboys show.
Dak watches. Why don't you?
He's literally texted Clarence during the show.
We're gonna hit 15,000 subs by the end of our 6th month, which is just incredible. So thank you all. But if you want to take your support one step further, if you scan that QR code or click the link in the description below or go to alldlls.com, you can sign up to become a diehard where you can financially support what we're doing. But it's not just you're not just being a good person. It's less than $7 a month, and you're going to get a whole lot of stuff in exchange, including a free shirt when you sign up, a discount on any other merch. You get to join the DLLS Discord. You get your physical diehard card. You also get to read all of the paywalled content, the written analysis, the feature stories, the rumor mill's cranking up in every sports league right now. There's a whole lot more going on our website. And also you get a discount on events. Very quickly want to plug, we only have a few seats left for our Mavs at Celtics watch party at Cosm. That's on Feb 6th. That is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Cosm is pretty incredible. It's like an indoor sports dome. It's like watching a game on an IMAX screen. It's really, really cool. There are very, very precious few tickets left. So it's not just for diehards. It's for anybody. But if you wanted to go to that as well, you are more than welcome. But act quick because tickets are running out.
Become part of our DLLS Sports family. Over 15,700 strong subscribers as far as our DLLS Sports channel is concerned. And you get a physical diehard card as well. Tag us on social media. Let us know you're part of our family here at DLLS Sports. Let me go to Sarah in the chat real quick because she's got a real comment that I need to, not that one, go up a little further. Something about football players. Yeah, shout out to you, Sarah. No more football players in the building at the games, period. I'm right there with you because every time Micah show up, recently it's been Shedeur Sanders, speaking of Cowboys, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, he was in the building tonight. The Mavericks seem to smoke games anytime a football player shows up, so...
Basketball games are for basketball people, not football people.
And was somebody upset that I cut Mark off before the commercial break?
I told him why.
Oh, that's sweet, Marco. Yeah. Look, man, we got to pay the bills. We got to take care of stuff. We got to do it on time. But I appreciate you. Yeah, we got to make sure Mark answers.
We'll put Mark's question in the DLS Discord.
That's right. There you
go.
How about that? There we go.
All right, so I got 2 things.
All right, cool.
For this last segment. Do you want me to talk? You want to talk about Grimes first, or do you want to talk about it not being fun when the rabbit got the gun?
Oh, it ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun.
All right. It's always funny when it happens to other teams, but it's never funny when it happens to you. The Mavs this year have been absolutely, positively snake bit. Diehard Luke had a stat all the way from Australia. The Mavs, I believe, have 21 or 23 different starting lineups this year. Something absurd.
Third most in the NBA.
Yeah, a different starting lineup for almost every second game. Like, it's unbelievable.
1 out of every 2 games is starting a different lineup.
Yeah, and now, whether it's been Gafford or Lively, the other 4 players that are supposed to be in the starting lineup, Luka, Kyrie, Clay, and PJ, have appeared in 18 starting lineups this season, which is less than half their games. That's not even including who starts at center. That's just your 1 through 4. Okay. So needless to say, it should come as no surprise that the Mavs are suffering in the standings. Now, should they have won some of these games that they've lost? Probably. I think they've lost some games that they definitely should have won. I don't really think they've won any games that they should have lost, frankly. I feel like, if anything, they've left some meat on the bone. However,
no, they shouldn't have beat OKC the last week.
No, dude. No shea, you win that game.
Huh?
At home, you win that game. Second out of back-to-back, you win that game.
Okay.
You do.
All right.
And we're moving on. It happens to one team every year. And it's funny to laugh at other people's misfortune because the West is a beast and one fewer competitor is great. But going back to last season, there's been a few people that have said, well, what about Memphis? They always win when they're hurt. Well, last year, Memphis went 27-55. They finished 13th in the West. Memphis was really, really bad last year because so many of their players were hurt. It was disgusting. How about in 22-23? That team was almost kind of the Mavs. They were 38-44. Luka missed some time, and they lost like every game whenever he was out. I think they were 0-9 that season without Luka, but it extended further beyond that. 22-23, Dame was still on the Blazers. They were really banged up. The Blazers won 33 games.
What a time that was.
At the end of that season, Portland dealt Dame, and that was it. It was over. Bradley Beal was on the Wizards. They went 35-47. You go back to 21-22, excuse me, LeBron on the Lakers played 56 out of 82 games. Anthony Davis played 40 out of 82 games. The Lakers went 33-49, okay, in 21-22. In 2020-21, you go to the Boston Celtics. They just won the NBA title. Jason Tatum missed a lot of games. Jaylen Brown missed a lot of games. Marcus Smart missed a ton of games. Kemba Walker missed a ton of games. The Celtics were in the play-in. They were 36-36. And then most famously of them all, the year before that, Clay and Steph get hurt for the Warriors, and they finished 15-50. They had the lowest win percentage in basketball. It happens to one team every single season. Usually it happens to multiple, but there's always one team that should finish way higher in the standings than they do because, in part at least, or in major part, injuries just completely derail their season. And again, it is kind of fun to laugh at, when your rivals are banged up and they're not able to compete and they fall out. No, we can make fun of Ja because he's reckless, or he says I'm fine in the West. Well, y'all are fine in the lottery. Like it's or LeBron and AD. Oh, boo-hoo, they're hurt. Oh, I hate the Lakers. It's not as fun. It ain't so fun when the rabbit got the gun, KG.
That was very well said and well put, Bobby Carella. I feel worse now after you said all that. Actually, just joking.
When you've been that team one time, you're rarely that team again for a while. It's kind of like hosting a Super Bowl. It'll come back to you eventually, but it'll be a while.
Well, never mind. I'm not going to make a Cowboys joke because I'm sick of it right now.
I don't mean winning. I just mean hosting. Two different beasts. But it
touche.
It is.
Touche.
It's just really tough. I mean, it sucks. Look, it sucks. But like again, I think when you're in the moment, it's very easy, and I'm a victim to it too all the time. It's very easy to be like, God, they should have won this game. Like, oh my God, Spencer Dinwiddie just pass the ball. It would be funny. Just pass the ball, see what happens.
I think real quick, that's some of the frustrating part about some of this. It's like the amount of bodies that they don't have. They have been competitive in a lot of these games and had a chance to win. The one game I think about mostly, the Sacramento game. Like I felt Sacramento dead to rights. You had a chance.
Have they lost since then?
It doesn't feel
that
like
was
it.
Like the starting point for the Kings.
That's true.
But like it's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, they could have or maybe should have won that game, but also like that's why he's a minimum player. That's why he's on the team.
Yeah.
Like the only way that Dinwiddie's on the team is because he's not good enough to get a longer contract. So like, what do you expect?
What do you expect? Yeah.
You want Omax to be better? Well, he was the 23rd pick or whatever, and like, man, you want Gafford. I want Gafford to be better, but like he's just not. He's just not. Like he's just not. If these guys were better,
don't make them people upset, Bobby.
Quentin Grimes, like, and that's kind of the bridge to my next point. Is I want Quentin Grimes to be better. I've seen Quentin Grimes be really good, but like he's on his third team on his rookie deal. Like, there's a reason for that. The Pistons were willing to give him up for Tim Hardaway Jr., who's having a decent year for them, but like nothing special. But they were willing to give up on Grimes for that. There's a reason, So like. We all think, I think it's like whenever these players are on your team, you kind of view them as like the protagonists of reality. They're the main characters, and if they lose, it's their fault. When in reality, it's like, yeah, they're just not good enough. They're just not good enough. And maybe Jason Kidd isn't good enough either, but like, it's definitely not all his fault. I know they don't want to be lectured on the coaches, so I will move on. The Grimes thing, though, this goes back to, I've told the story before, but I want to do it again. 2016-17, the Mavs fork over a maximum contract, 4-year, $94 million or $96 million contract to Harrison Barnes, coming off his rookie deal with the Golden State Warriors, where he had a fine career. He was 10, 11 points per game. He'd usually
traded Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, nice job by them. Now Barnes was kind of like a marginal, player on the Warriors. And the Mavs
title.
Yeah, but like he wasn't. But he was in their starting five.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Like he didn't close games for them. Like he was fine. The Mavs gave him a max. Whenever you're paid the max, you're expected to perform. But that was never what Barnes was going to be. He was never going to be that player.
Right.
He showed flashes. Right, that first year in Dallas, he scored at least 25 points in 16 games. He played in 79 games that season. Okay, he played in 79 games. He only got to 25 16 times, but he scored at least 55 times. 55 times, scored at least 17 points. And the thing that he kept saying over and over again throughout that entire first season in Dallas is his number one goal is not to average a certain number of points. It's not to do anything specific. It's just to be consistent. And he's like, that is the toughest thing for any player to do, is be consistent. And I think part of the reason that Quentin Grimes is available, part of the reason that the Mavs didn't extend him, part of the reason that he's on his third team in 4 years is because he's kind of inconsistent.
Up and down.
And that could be because maybe he's not a 14-point per game player in the NBA. Maybe he's not even a 10-point per game player in the NBA. Oof. Maybe he's a ninth man, and that's totally fine.
Sure.
But it's like when you show flashes of, I think he could be a starter, and then you show flashes of, and he's definitely like a fourth guard, then you kind of become like, I feel like I've seen the potential, but it's missing. Barnes that year scored between 17 and 20 points in 23 games. So roughly 1 out of every 3-ish, 1 out of every 4-ish games, he scored between 17 and 20. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not great. That's not an all-star. But like
that's a consistent player.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then he scored 25 or more 16 times, which is like fine-ish. But that meant that for half his games, 25 and 16, that's 41. We love that number in Dallas. Around half the games he played that season, he was either going to give you 17 to 20 or he was going to pop and have a really nice game. That's the thing. Find your floor. What can you do every single night? What is your NBA skill? Can you consistently not go 3 for 3 and then 3 for 3 and then 0 for 3 and then 0 for 3 and now you're a 50% shooter? Can you go 2 for 3, 2 for 3, 2 for 3, 1 for 3 and now you're a 50% shooter, whatever it is? Like, what can you do all the time? And right now, again, whenever you're playing players 7 through 15 on your depth chart, basically, including Kyrie. Kyrie's obviously not number 7, but
there's a lot of variance there.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. A lot of guys are gonna have their normal or bad games. And for Grimes, who's young, and for PJ, who's still kind of young and still sort of becoming a certain kind of player, and for Najee, who's trying to be maybe a little more than we thought, and for Clay, who's been a little up and down in a new role on a new team and a new environment, like, we need them to find their stasis. We need them to find consistency. And that hasn't been the case. It's really, really hard. They might not get there at all, but I think that's an ongoing project. It's something that you can't really quantify. You can't really touch. You can't really see, but you kind of know it when you see it. And a lot of guys are looking for that right now.
Before we continue here on the DLLS Mavs Postgame Show, we want to thank our television audience for joining us here on our postgame show. We'll be back tomorrow with our pregame show beginning at 6:30 p.m. as the Mavericks take on the Oklahoma City Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back. We'll have our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato and our national NBA insider Marc Stein joining us as well for the game. Make sure that you visit alldlls.com, become a diehard member for less than $7 a month, and you can download and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. And make sure you subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube as well.
Luke, also real quick, I'm sorry. Luke mentioned, I talked for a really long time, I'm sorry, but
no, you're fine.
Luke mentioned the Pelicans have also been destroyed by injuries, and probably even worse than the Mavs have.
For sure.
They have the worst record in the West, and the Pelicans were a playoff team last year. And
Mavs fans want to trade for an injured one right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans were I think, was it last year or the year before? They were number 1 in the West for a really long time, and then injuries started happening. But, they would have definitely been at least in the play-in picture, if not a top 6 team this year. But their whole team is hurt, and they're not winning hardly any games. So, the Pelicans are maybe that team even more than the Mavs are. But, we're seeing both teams really, really struggle due to it. And that's not justifying our case for Kidd. That's just really weird.
No.
Anyway, I shouldn't have even read that out loud. But, I mean, it is what it is, dude. If all your good players are hurt, you're going to lose. Like, I'm sorry to break it to you. That's just how it's going to be. It's how it's always been, and it's how it always will be.
You mentioned Detroit as far as the Grimes conversation is concerned. Don't throw rocks at me, but did we need to start having a semi-discussion about Cade Cunningham and the MVP conversation? No? Okay. All right, cool.
No. Dude.
I wanted to see his reaction. I'm not putting him in the MVP conversation.
Come on.
I saw some of that floating online today. I was like, wait, are we really doing that? No. Detroit is 23-21. They're top 6 in the East right now. Actually, if the season were to end today, they would actually secure a top 6 spot in the Eastern Conference.
They're having a really good season.
They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. The reason why I start to bring up the standings is we look at and look ahead quickly to tomorrow night. The Mavericks are back on the road to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder with our pregame show beginning at 6:30 p.m. Tip-off at 7 p.m. We will see who is going to be available for Dallas. They had several guys missing tonight, including Klay Thompson, including Najee Marshall, who is dealing with illness. We know about Derek Lively and the injury status that he is dealing with as well. But as you look at the standings right now, with the loss tonight, the Mavericks, without the rest of the completion of tonight's games, are currently 9th in the West now. They are at 23-21. They are tied in the loss column with the Timberwolves, who, of course, they lost to tonight. The Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors, who are getting the breaks beat, or actually they're beating the breaks off Sacramento right now. They're up by 14 with just under 10 minutes left in the third quarter. That game was actually a little bit worse than what it was than it is right now. But you look at the top 6 in the West right now. OKC is sitting at number 1, Houston at number 2, Memphis at number 3, Denver is number 4. Both LA teams are at number 5 and number 6 with the Clippers and the Lakers in 6th. Then you have Sacramento at 7, Minnesota at 8. They won the season series, by the way, with their win tonight, 2-1 over the Dallas Mavericks. So they own the tiebreaker as you start thinking about play-in situations and the overall Western Conference playoff standings. Dallas at 9, Phoenix at 10, Golden State at number 11, and the San Antonio Spurs sitting there at 19-22, 3 games under 500. So you look at the rest of this week is going to shape out, Bobby, as we get ready to end here. You've got Oklahoma City tomorrow. Then you take on the Boston Celtics on Saturday in a 4:30 start time there. They got to find a way to get one of these 2 games, because otherwise they're staring at the barrel of being not only at 500, but potentially, depending on what happens over the next few days, even outside of the top 10 here. That's unfortunately kind of where we are in terms of the Mavericks.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win the next 2 games.
All right.
It's possible, but like
anything's possible.
I don't think that I don't think we need to fear like, oh, they're going to wake up and be 500. Like, we know it's going to happen, If it doesn't, that would be awesome. It would be awesome. I'm not saying don't tune in. I'm not saying don't watch, but like, dude, Thunder road game, second night of a back-to-back. Boston. Granted, you want to talk about a team that's going through some stuff right now? The Celtics playing some weird bad. There's a quote. I forget what was the quote the other day? It was like, there are weird vibes in our locker, or like we're disturbed right now. Or something. There was like
Jason
a really
Tatum said that, I believe.
Yeah, really a cryptic quote. So who knows? Who knows? I think we know. Yeah. I'm trying to find, where do you find the man games lost to injuries?
You could probably go to the Hoops OMG site. They have that, I think, in their miscellaneous notes. I'll have to find it here in a second.
Really?
Yeah, that's where it is.
But I just want to know, like, the Mavs can't be.
It's over 120 games.
They can't be number 1, right? That's got to be the Pelicans.
I would imagine it's probably the Pelicans, but the Mavericks, I would imagine, are in the top 5.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dude, it's just so much. It's just so much.
And not only with the schedule in terms of who they play, but the frequency in which they're playing with. You look from beginning on, well, actually, you can just include tonight, but we'll just, for the conversation's sake, start with tomorrow. The Mavericks are literally playing every other day through February 13th. Starting tomorrow. They play the 23rd, the 25th, the 27th, the 29th, the 31st. I guess they have no. They play on Sundays. So yeah, the 23rd, the 25th, the 27th, the 29th, the 31st, February 2nd, February 4th, February 6th, February 8th, February 10th, February 12th, and the 13th. They have a back-to-back on the 12th and 13th. So they're literally playing every other day for the next 2.5 weeks. That is the kind of grueling schedule that they are dealing with between now and before the All-Star break, which begins on Valentine's Day on February 14th.
Yeah, and again, I mean, so many of these games are just really, really tough. You know, I mean, it would be the Hornets game is a shame. That game is a shame.
Yeah, that's the one that you had to get. Yeah,
and I'm not worried about this one. If they go out and they lose tomorrow, I'm not going to be worried. If they lose to the Celtics, I'm not going to be worried. But I mean, the problem is, dude, every game is just so tough. And then after that Celtics game, you go on the road for like a week and a half.
Well, you got Washington at home on Monday the 27th before you go on the road.
Genuinely, do you think that if both teams agreed to just give the Mavs a 102-94 win, that they could just not play that game?
Just like in golf when you're about to hit a 1-foot birdie play. Hey man, just pick it up.
Yeah, can we just do that?
Like just
for
pick
the
it
good of the game.
Yeah, just pick it up.
We'll do a post game and everything. We'll do a whole show.
We'll just simulate the whole thing when it comes to the post game show. But yeah, after that game against Washington at home on the 27th, they're on the road for what will be 5 straight road games. That includes the Pelicans, the Pistons, the Cavs, the Sixers, and the Celtics once again before they come home for what would be 4 straight home games.
And you need Luka back for those.
The pre-All-Star break. And Luka will at some point be back, we think, during that stretch starting in February. But
the unanswerable question with that right now is, once he's cleared to do stuff, how much of a ramp-up is he going to need? Because, again, for an injury like that, you can't do anything until they clear you. So he is going to be – he has been like medically mandated to sit on his butt for the last month. To go from that to playing basketball, you need at least a week and a half, right, to go through
full practices
and contact, and like he's going to be doing like shooting drills for a little bit, you know.
I think the date that you gave was a hopeful one, being February the 8th.
Yeah, that was my gas mask take.
Yeah,
just to be clear, that was just pulling it out of my rear.
Yeah, because you would hope he would be able to, if he is cleared to come back, that he could get 2 to 3 games in before the All-Star break, and then after that, it's full pedal to the metal from there. So that just kind of gives you a lay of the land of where the Mavericks are schedule-wise. The schedule's not getting easier in terms of competition or in terms of the frequency of these games. There's a reason why January is the longest month of the season as far as the NBA is concerned. And then after the All-Star break,
it's only been 3 weeks.
Man, and it feels like it's been 2 years in the month of January, but that's where we are.
We're going to get through it together.
We are, and we appreciate
you and me and Tim and Stein and Tanner and the diehards.
That's right.
And everyone who's not a diehard who's in our chat, but mostly the diehards.
So make sure you get some rest, boys and girls, because we are back tomorrow, less than 24 hours, for the relax, Tanner. We heard that. Jeez.
Was your mic on for that one, or?
Sorry.
No, okay.
It wasn't. That was a groan off mic, not on mic.
Okay, good.
Loud enough for us to hear, though. Tactical. We're trying to bring the energy up here, Tanner, all right? We're trying to get people excited.
Tactical.
You're right. My bad.
Tactical, unlike the Mavericks' fourth quarters as of late, but that's another conversation.
Hey, tonight was fine. There's no shame in losing. It's like the dude in the Social Network that's like, what a great race. There's no shame in losing a race like that. What a great race. Oh, you can't feel bad about that. What a great race.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for me, again, tonight is that the Timberwolves are deeply unserious as a team, like, period. I don't take them seriously at all.
The worst thing about that game is that I had to watch, like, 80 free throws. Don't make me do that again.
That is true.
Don't make me do it again.
34 of which were taken by Minnesota, but nonetheless. Tomorrow, our pregame show will begin at 6:30 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Tip-off at 7 p.m. as the Mavericks take on the Western Conference leading Oklahoma City Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back. We will have our full crew in-house, including Tanner as well. Sarah, thank you, Sarah, for being who you are and supporting us here as well as everyone in our chat as well. We're going to get through it. I promise you. The dawn is coming. The night is darkest just before the dawn.
Time is going to march on whether we want it to or not, all right? So just lean in. Embrace it. Go down on your sword. Go down on.
Lean in, Bobby.
Oh, I thought that I was just a metaphor. That was just I was just saying it.
We're actually leaning in.
Oh.
We love you. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. right here. Tana's like, please sign off so we can go home.
That reminds me of this thing. I was just joking. But really, I can talk more if you want.
No, it's time to go.
Another Lord of the Rings quote.
There's so many, dude. There's so many.
Don't do that. Do not do any right now. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. You can do something tomorrow.
300 Roman.
6:30 p.m. tomorrow for our DLLS Mavs pregame show.
Uruk-hai,
Y'all be
descending
good, boys
upon
and
the
girls. We'll
fortress.
talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
We will last the night.
We all silly like the mayor.